All right, Roshaun, take it away. Welcome to um the young spiritual homie guide to mindfulness. Enjoy.
What up, everyone? Hi, my name is Roshaun Davis, aka the spiritual homie. I'll tell you a little story about how I got that name in a little bit. I started a while ago. So I was in music in 2008. I started a company named Unseen Heroes, and that's kind of like where I'll dive you in and where I got my start at. A lot of what I was going through during the times was just trying to find a space and place for myself. I always knew that I was a little different, a little non traditional. And so for me, it was about finding something that resonated with me. I was in a music group called Righteous Movement, and I knew that music was my passion. I knew that music and creativity was my superpower, I will say. But I just didn't know how it was going to be accepted into the world until I got into music and I started writing and I started just freestyling and flowing and going with the flow of what now I know is inspiration, passion, and all of those things. And so back then, it was just me trying to make it in the world, and we were pretty good. We went on tours. We were on the Vans Warp Tour. We went on a lot of college tours. It was four MCs and two DJs when we started back in 2008. And around that time, I met my wife. Her name was Maritza. And I said, I want to pursue this more. I want to be more engulfed in my creativity and all of those things. And so I said, why don't we start a company called Unseen Heroes? And so we started Unseen Heroes in 2008. And it was just me promoting my band, really. It was us trying to make it in this industry. And so I had this creative side, but I also had this business side as well. And so I started to merge the two and started a company called Unseen Heroes. And in 2008, we got like our first client and kind of moved through the world and trying to get more clients and succeeded at that. Went from, having these artists that we were working with at the time and helping them with their PR and their marketing and their design and their just getting their word out. And then that snowballed into us getting bigger clients and bigger contracts and um, which continues to be the trajectory. Here we are now 14 years later in the business, and doing a lot of different community work. That's what brings me to Soul. I'm a board member at Soul Collective and have been a board member for about 5 years now. Um, and just, moments like this allow me to like give back to the community and just kind of share what I've learned on this journey of what I will call mindfulness and meditation, and centering yourself and understanding that there's this higher power, this consciousness that you can tap into if you're really in tune with it and you practice being in tune with it. So, that's my professional journey, a lot of ups and downs in there. But today, what I really wanted to talk about was just this idea of mindfulness and meditation and how that continues to show up and hopefully be able to share these jewels with you and you'll be able to implement them way before I did. I've been in the personal development world since about 2008. And, I always like to say it started with just me understanding like there was something more, like collectively calling me consciously. And so starting to like really search for that. So one of the things like my name in hip hop before I started with Unseen and all of those things was Taze. And Taze stood for Truth Arises in Search. And so I would always be searching for these things, like, what was true to me, what was calling me. And I'll never forget, like, I read a book called Think and Grow Rich, which I think, if you haven't read that, I would definitely say write that down and look at that book. It was one of the books that kind of changed my trajectory and just how I think. Another good book is Acres of Diamonds. That's a good one. And then How a Man Thinketh. So if there were those three books, if you want to write those down, those are like a good place to start. But it allows you to understand that there is what they say is like there's a gold mine in your head, right? And being able to tap into that and just like set intentions, and set different goals and then move with intention towards those goals, you get to actualize those things. So back then, I didn't know what I was doing. I just started reading a lot of these books and reading a lot of these different things that I would find on the internet, and just really starting to practice them and put them into action. And lo and behold, as I started to practice mindfulness, as I started to practice meditation, as I started to practice all of these different things, it allowed me to like clear a pathway to move forward in ways that I feel like I've learned to pause, accept what is, and then move forward in what is in a way that doesn't freak me out, or I'm not panicking and moving forward. So those are some of the things that I want to teach you today. So that's just like a little bit of background on me. I'll leave some space open at the end to kind of talk about anything that you guys want to talk about. I'm just going to go through this workbook with you. I started with this page. If anybody is on here and doesn't know who I am, as far as my Instagram side goes, my name's the Spiritual Homie on Instagram. And so I'm always posting things like this. The homie just said, "You were meant to thrive." Let that sink in. And so with my Instagram, I started that about almost not even 2 years ago now. About, say, less than 2 years. I started in May, right when the pandemic happened, and it was just my way of sharing things out that I was hearing and that I was reading and that I would listen to. So all of the posts that you see on that page actually came from real conversations that I either like read or heard, or someone was talking to me. But it came in this way, and I love this one. Because we are meant to thrive, and I think sometimes without mindfulness, without meditation, without all of those things, we tend to forget that. You know what I'm saying? So I just want you guys to like know that straight off is like we are here to thrive. We are meant to thrive. And when you use your mind, when you use meditation, when you use mindfulness, you can get onto that trajectory to thrive and move through these situations that we call trivial, or that are we feel like are stopping us. You move through them with a lot more grace and a lot more love and positive energy as you move through them. So I'll start here, and just I'm gonna leave this book with you, so you'll have it. But I just wanted to kind of go through just the basics of it, right? So to me, when I think about mindfulness, it's this idea of being present, right? And being present in your space, where you are in the moment. So you know, when I'm practicing being mindfulness, I'll sit just anywhere I am. It doesn't even matter. Like I'll sit here and I just kind of let my focus kind of gaze out further, right? And so even as I'm sitting here, it's like my unique perspective. I can see I have a painting over here. I have a painting over here. I have a nice little crystal collection set up over here. um, I can see right outside into my backyard. It's about like getting present in the space that you are. A lot of times when we think of mindfulness, it's in these moments, or the misconception I'll say with mindfulness is like you have to go deep into your mind and think all of these different thoughts, and truly that's not it, right? To me, mindfulness is just really being present with where you are and who you are in that moment, and taking all of it in. And when I try and ground myself, one of the things that I always think of is like, what colors do I see right now? So right now, there's a green chair. There's a computer that's in front of me. that is on a black chair. There's a black microphone that's right here. I have a couple crystals that you can see that are right here. Like, I try and focus on these moments that are in front of me right now, and that gets me to be very, 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 very present. And when you're very, 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 very present, you're able to just be in the moment, right? And you don't get caught up in your thoughts. A lot of the times we try to either jump ahead to the future and think through some things in the future, or we'll be bogged down by some of the things that happened in the past. You know, mom or dad or friend might have said something and it's still like going in your head, still going in your head. Or you might have to do something in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours next day, and you're already jumping ahead to try and get that thing done or think your way out of that. And so for me, like, mindfulness is just coming back to yourself. And then one of the things that they always say and that they'll practice, you know, and they teach you to practice in meditation is to just be with your breath, right? Like, that is like the force, the life force going through your body. And so at any moment when I'm starting to get too in my mind, I practice mindfulness by just coming back to those things, like stopping and taking a deep breath and taking another deep breath. And I try and do that for 7 seconds in, hold for a second, and then blow out for like 7 seconds. Depending on where I am and what I'm doing and what I'm dealing with, I might not be able to do that. But those are the things that I practice when I'm talking about mindfulness. It's that consciousness of being present in the moment, right? So on the workbook, it'll have like, what's your initial thoughts about mindfulness? Like, I want you to take a moment to like sit with that. And before you answer the question for that, like, sit and look around and see what's around you. And one of the other things that I like to practice is just like, can I count 7 things that I'm grateful for in that moment? You know, like when I sit and I practice mindfulness, I'll just look, and once I really get present, the right colors there, whatever it is, like, what are those 7 things that I can be present or that I can be grateful for? So that's a just a simple thing that you can do to practice this mindfulness, you know. And so I want you to do that before you start to even answer these questions. Like, try and practice being in a mindful state, right? Um, then there's a question there that's like, what questions come up for you? Like, what are some of those questions that come up for you around mindfulness as you're starting to write these things down, right? I want you to write them down and at me, or send me a note on Instagram or email or whatever, and I'm down to answer any of those questions that come up for you, because we all have them. Like, you know, we're all not experts in this. We're all just learning on this journey, and so it's okay to ask questions. It's okay for those questions to come up, and it's okay to ask for those answers, right? And so there's another piece on here is just like, what have you heard about it? You know, like, what have you heard about mindfulness? All of these things are these things that go on in your mind about like meditation, about mindfulness, that you have to begin to like work with and break down and practice the opposite sometimes, or the positive, if it's a good thing that you've heard about it. But allowing yourself to check in, that's what this guide is actually for, is like to check in with yourself, to hear what are those things that yourself, inside of your head, inside of your mind, inside of your body, are telling you about these ideas around mindfulness, right? So that page is there. And then there's a life assessment, which is really cool for me. I take this life assessment. I try and take it every quarter. I haven't taken it this quarter, so I actually need to break this assessment out for myself, and take this assessment as well. But basically, what this is, and you'll have this on a scale of 1 to 10. I want you to go through and answer these questions, right? And see. This will allow you to see, like, where are those spaces in your life that are going well, right? And then where are those spaces in your life that you feel like you can work on, right? And it says at the top, like, I don't want you, you don't have to share this with anyone. There are no right or wrong answers. The only requirement is that you're open and honest about where you are, because it's important for us as individuals to be able to assess our lives and understand, like, if something's not going right in a certain space in your life, you have the power to change it, right? But if you go through life, if you're not taking this assessment, it just can spiral, and then you're like, hey, where did I go on that thing? And you feel powerless, right? And so these life assessment tools are a way for you to feel powerful, right? And be full of this power, because you understand that I can move. Just, I'm gonna take the first one. If I don't consider myself a spiritual person, I'm gonna put one. But I know that I can do the things and practice those things that make me a spiritual person, and I can see the needle move until I get to five, right? And the way that I do that is by making sure that I'm taking account on each of these different things every day, or at these different moments, right? And so it's important to do this. I suggest to anyone that you guys should be doing this at least like once a quarter, or maybe, I mean, if you're just starting out, maybe you just do it once a year. But if you're really dialed in, you're taking this out sometime in the quarter of the year, and then doing like a winter, summer, spring, or winter, spring, summer, fall type of assessment, and just checking in, and you get to see like some of the progress, right? On some of these. And some of them are fun, some of them are like challenging, like, looking through this, like, I never engage in meaningless gossip. Now, I don't know about you, but I couldn't put a one there, because sometimes I do be engaging in some meaningless gossip. But if I see, like, I take the assessment and it's at a five, and I don't want to do that, then I'm going to be mindful of when gossip comes up, to not tune into it and check out, because I'm trying to move my number from five to one, right? Or certain things, like, I constantly check in on what I'm grateful for today. So, if I am going through a quarter and I'm not constantly checking in, I can pull this assessment back out and then say, like, oh snap, I got a one on that. I want to put this into practice. I'm going to check in every day on five things I'm grateful for. And one of the things that I did for almost like 2 years straight, I had like just a black book gratitude journal, and I would just pull it out before I went to bed, or before or right after I woke up, and I would just write five things that I was grateful for, and then at the end of the night, I would write five things that happened to me throughout the day. And so I did that for like almost 2 years. I almost got to 2 years straight, every single day. Or if I missed a day, I would jump back and go back to a day, just to kind of check in and like really like implement into my life those that mindfulness of being grateful for something in life every single day. So look at this sheet, and look at all of these sheets as like things that you can actively practice every single day to be mindful. And that goes for, your spiritual side, your mental side, lifestyle, and the things that you're doing throughout your day, your relationships and family, your physical, like all of these different pieces you have that you can go through and look at, and really start to make incremental changes in your life about around mindfulness, right? And I just can't express enough, like, this tool is really cool to see, especially if you're trying to like make positive changes in your life, right? So then it has like just a little balance sheet of how it is. You just can score it, but again, you'll start to see, like, if something's not going as smoothly as you like, you have the power to change it. So what I do in those instances is, like, the things that are going good, I put to a side, and then the things that I want to change, or influence or practice in my daily life, I then put those on a sheet, and then those become my goals for the next 90 days. I just continue to practice those things on a daily basis. And if I slip, which we all slip, I just try and get back on. And then maybe, it might not go from a 1 to a 5 the next time I take the assessment. Maybe it just goes from a 1 to the 2. But it's these incremental changes that we see that allow us to be joyful about the changes that we're making, which is the most important part about being mindful. It's just like consciously doing something and constant, like consciously doing it from a place of like improvement, when you're using it to the best of your ability. Right. And so then on this page, it just says like, what did you notice about how you filled out the form previously, right? And what I want you to do is when you're filling out, those certain sections and you're answering, not only do I want you to be open and honest with it, I also want you to be like mindful in the moment, right, about how you're feeling, what's going through your head. So it's a practice in itself to even fill out the form, because some of those things you'll hear a little voice in your head. It's like, you don't do that very well. You have this clutter, or there's this chatter that goes on in your head as you're answering the questions that you're trying to be mindful of too. So I want you to notice that, like, how present can you be in the response of those answers as well, right? That's a practice of mindfulness. And so the next question is like, how do you currently practice that? And you're actively doing that, even in taking that test. I want you to just actively do that, like practice it. And then there might be other ways, like one of the dope things about being a musician and being an artist and MC, like you can get into a place like what we consider like flow, right? And when you're in the flow, you could kick a freestyle, you could play like a flute very well, or like whatever it may be, like when you're in that flow. So that practice of mindfulness comes in a lot of different ways. So I want you to like really sit with that and say like, how do you currently practice it? It might not be the same way that I practice it. It might not be that you sit down and you take everything in, but maybe there's a way that you practice mindfulness in your own world already. And it's about honoring those things that you're already doing to really show you that you're already on path. Or those are just spaces in which you have to pick it up and practice a little bit more. But I'm sure that, in your life, like there are places that you already practice mindfulness, which is just like being truly present, that you're not even aware of, right? Like, my son loves playing basketball, playing video games. When he's in that zone, like he's there, he's present, he's in the moment, he's laughing, he's enjoying. So in those ways, he's practicing mindfulness by being present. So, I want you to check in and analyze your own life and like, how do you practice mindfulness already, so that you understand that you continue to do this and grow from it, right? And so this one, the pause, what I call the pause is when it's kind of like this idea of mindfulness, but I use it in the way of when I'm actually like frustrated, or like I'm going to respond to something, or I might be upset, or I might be down and I'm not feeling well and I just want to be in like a downward spiral of sadness. Like I practice this thing I call the pause, right? Which is just like, before I respond, I just kind of freeze and I check in with my breath, right? So someone might be yelling at me or something. Instead of just like yelling back at them, I'll just come back, come back to myself. Don't go out. Don't give that energy to them. I first check it in with myself, right? And what I've learned in that pause is that then you're able to choose your own response instead of just snapping back, which a lot of people do. Somebody will say something, then you'll say something back. Somebody say something, then you say something back. somebody will do something, then you do something back. It's just natural to just like go back and forth like that, right? But when you're practicing the pause, it might look silly sometimes, you know. And when I'm actually practicing the pause, like it's, you know, it could be someone asks me a question, and before I answer it, I'll just stop, take a deep breath, and then I'll talk, right? And it sounds kind of weird to, you know, I've been talking this whole time, but then when I pause, the pause can go on for as long as you want it to be, because it's that space and time where you get to choose your response, right? And so the pause is very important. And the more and more that you learn it, the more and more that you can kind of really understand how you control the flow of these things. And it's not just you have to respond, respond, react, react, respond, respond, react. Like you get to choose how you interact with whatever's coming at you, right? And so sometimes I'll just do it just to be in my space and create space around me. Um, like I'll just sit and I'll just not say anything and see it can last as long as you want, right? But it breaks up some of that energy that sometimes, you know, I use it in the ways of like when it's like intense energy or negative energy, or you know somebody else is throwing something at me. I kind of use it in that way, but sometimes I just use it from not just responding out of just like anger or frustration, or just because I feel like I have to. It really allows you to take your power back, because in that pause you're breathing, you're slowing down, you're understanding that whatever next comes out of your mouth is actually valuable, right? And so the other part of that too is like when you pause, you kind of create this space of like it being one of those things where you're like in control of like what's coming next, right? So people are like looking like what what is this person gonna say? What are they doing? What are they gonna have come out of their mouth, you know? And so that's one of those ways that you can just practice that pause and be in control of your environment, be in control of your thoughts, be in control of the situation. So I want you to kind of think about that and then write down how can you practice the pause in like everyday life, right? Or like certain situations, whether it be your friends or your siblings. It's like the power of the pause is so effective in being able to a be mindful, and then B, just move in a way that's more powerful to you. Right. And so then this other sheet that I have is just write down all the ways that you're mindful today. Right. So this is a little homework. So I want you to just like take some, you know, if it's a day or 2 days or a week or whatever, but just write down like celebrate those wins of you being mindful, right? Because when you're mindful and you record it, it allows you to see like, whoa, like I spent a lot of the day present and mindful and conscious of the things that I was doing. I wasn't in my head too much, or I wasn't, you know, in the past too much, thinking about something that had already happened. I wasn't kind of over here with someone, so allowing them to control my feelings in the way that I feel. I was actually mindful. And so when you write those things down, it allows you to see and celebrate the wins of this mindfulness that you're using on a daily basis. And you know, when you're starting out, if this is just the beginning of your journey, that list is not going to be long, right? Like this is me, and I've been practicing like being mindful and being conscious and meditation and all of these things for almost 14 years now, right? And so my list can be a lot longer some days. Sometimes it's not, and that's the beauty about being human. That's the beauty about our experience is like we're not perfect. And so we're always going to have these days where it might just be one thing that we write and that we're saying that we're mindful of because we just couldn't get it together that day. And that's okay. That gives you like space to look and say, I can practice being better in these ways. And so I always look at it as a practice. Like life is a practice. You're either practicing to, be mindful or you're practicing the opposite of being mindful. You're practicing to love or you're practicing to be the opposite of love. You're practicing to be, expansive and, forward thinking or you're practicing the opposite of it. So we're always in practice, and every day that we wake up, every moment that we have, it's this practice about moving forward in those things that we're intentional about, right? And so I want you to sit with that and write down all of the ways that you're mindful on, these days. And, some folks I've heard have just been like copying this and then writing down, on the pieces of paper, just day by day, they take 30 of these and write down each day. Or you can just bust out your phones and like I have a section in my notes that I'll just write it down, right? So I'm a very big proponent on like being, just open up a notes section in your phone and just start to write those things down because you want to be conscious of the places that you are mindful because they're wins, when you're able to be conscious, when you're able to be mindful, when you're able to just be in that space of presence, and find the joy in that, you you will continuously be in a state of like happiness, all of the things, all of the positives that you see a lot of and that you see, that you might want out of your life. Like it's in these little moments of practicing those things that you find the long-term benefits for all of them, right? And so this other thing I have is just a express your feelings exercise. This allows you to put language and verbiage to the things that you feel, um, both in the positive and the negative, right? Because a lot of the times, the things that we feel, we sum up and we sum them up in just like happy, sad, mad. Like there's a few, right? Just a few kind of feelings that we just put everything into, and then that determines who we are and how we move through the world and how we move through that day, right? But when you start to acknowledge, your feelings and the way that you can then start to express them in very a very articulate way, it allows you to understand how even in the negative side of that. So if you're feeling something that's not good, it allows you to then come up with a solution that speaks to exactly what you're feeling. But when you're just feeling like these basics, like mad, it's kind of hard to like understand because then you might do something that's like happy, but it doesn't really get to that core feeling because it wasn't that you felt mad, you felt, I'm just looking at one of these, you felt alienated, right? And so the better you are about using and expressing your feelings, the better you can speak to them and then find how to express them and then find how to engage with them and then change them. I always say like your feelings are your energy. It's how you feel and it's the most present you can be in this universe is by honoring how you feel and then changing how you feel or transforming how you feel. And so it's like your guidance system. A lot of people call it like your emotional guidance system. It's like the more in tune with those things you are, the more you're able to maneuver through the world because you're feeling, and the feelings then you move towards what you're feeling, right? So on here there is, I mean, look at this, like there are 196. right? And so you're just looking through all of these and just like really starting to understand like how you feel about these different ones, right? So I have that in there, and I just want you guys to kind of look at that and go through that and see like how you feel in these certain ways. And then I think that is it. Yeah. If there's any questions, I can answer any of those questions. But I really just want to end with just saying, like, I feel like now is a time for you guys to really take these tools and these lessons and move things forward. Um, like learning this stuff when I was your age it didn't really exist on a broad spectrum. It was very not talked about or very like hidden. And so now that we're coming into the age where you guys can get this information, these tools, this technology to make your life better and to be more present, it's a beautiful thing for me to see and for me to experience. And like the little homies that are able to like express themselves and be mindful and meditate and use crystals and be tuned in on this whole different level, because it allows all of us to move forward, and it's just a joy to see, so I just want to say thank you for having me, and just anything that I can do to kind of help move things forward for you guys, I'm here. Please feel free to like reach out and let me know. You can find me on Instagram. I'm usually there pretty much all the time, or you can send me an email. Maybe one of the youth can send an email out with that email. But I really want you guys to get this information and run with it. So that's it. Any questions? If not, I can play some music and we can ride this thing on. Oh, I gotta unmute everyone. My bad, my bad.
Hey, I have a question.
There you go. Yep.
So, this project, or not, I don't want to say project, but like the worksheets that you created, I wanted to know exactly like how did you, I mean, obviously you're getting it out right now, but when you first kicked that off, how did you do that? Because I'm in the process of making a tarot deck with 78 different artists, and I just don't know how to get it out there, honestly. It's not gonna drop till 2023, but I know that this is available, or I'm pretty sure it's available for the community.
Yep.
And I
Mhm.
just want to know how you get it out there.
Yeah, I think, social media is a great tool right now, for you to like find your tribe. I always say like use different hashtags, right? To find the folks who are posting, about tarot, right? So there's a lot of different hashtags that folks will use, whether it's tarot, whether it's King of Pentacles, whether it's, you know, full like you can go through, there's what, 72 different cards, right? And mostly like when you go on Instagram, just look up the hashtag, tarot, or any of those, and you'll find folks that are posting. And then once you find them, it's about connecting with them and sending out like a message to them and saying like, hey, I'm into the same things that you're into, would love to just like connect, right? That's a good way for you to do that. And that's kind of how I started with Spiritual Homie. Like my my following is now up to almost a little over 18,000, right? And I just started it a year and a half ago. But one of the things that I did on this go round, I was like, I want I want to find my tribe. I want to find the folks that I connect with. And so, yeah, I just started looking up different hashtags, and then I always use those hashtags when I post, whether it's in my stories or on my posts. So then that other folks, when they're looking, will find me, and then I find them. And so that's a good way to do it. And then just also, just if it's offline, if you're looking at offline, there's a lot of different folks in, you know, um, the community that are doing kind of some of those same things, or into those same things. So it's about like finding like where you can find those folks in real life too. Like we're all into. I'm gonna say it sounds weird, but it's like we're all into the same things, and that doesn't mean like every single one of us are into the same exact things. It just means as a collective human consciousness, we're into the same things at certain level. So you find your tribe, and you find the folks that you vibe with that are on the same vibe, and then you create community around them by interacting with them, by talking with them, by building with them. So if you're looking for like a dope, like just like a start, like every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Um, like my team on the Unseen Hero side, we do a crystal live, and then our like our crystal guy, we call him the crystal guy, but Ben does a tarot card each week that goes with the crystals that he's picking. And so then there's, folks on there, I think, it's like 20, 30 folks that get on every single Wednesday, and they talk about like what's happening in astrology, how that matches up with tarot, how you get in crystals with, match crystals with that. So, folks exist out there that are into it, that are wanting to do the same things, so it's just about connecting with them. And that's like a perfect question, right? And that you can literally like find your tribe. A great question. Any other questions? You want me to elaborate on that? I gotta take this unmute off. No doubt, no doubt. All right, I just changed it, so I allowed participants to unmute themselves. So if you have any questions, let me know. If not, yeah, or you can ask them in the chat. If not, all good.
Cool. I just wanted to say that this PDF will be I believe it will be given to everybody in the meeting as long as the like recorded afterwards. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Thank you for answering my question as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Cool. Well, I appreciate your time. I look forward to connecting with everyone.
Cool. Thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share the space with Soul Collective and all the youth that this is going to be shared with.
Yep.
I think that unless Diana has a question, seems like that's a wrap.